Yes, guys, it's yours and truly, Mr. Lazer, and welcome to Lazer LFC. This is my first YouTube video, and I'm going to be reviewing Liverpool-based football content. Now, today I'm going to do a short review on Liverpool's defeat to Manchester City at Anfield. Liverpool lost to Manchester City 4-1. Now, this is Manchester City's first victory over Liverpool at Anfield since 2003 in the Premier League. It's been that long. Liverpool, as you know, coming into the game has been on a bad run of form. They've lost back-to-back games prior to today to Burnley and Brighton at Anfield. Liverpool looked to have semi-retrieval by defeating West Ham at the London Stadium and Tottenham at White Hart Lane. 3-1 victories in both games. They look like to getting their mojo back. They look like to be getting it back in those games. But they suffered a blank again at the hands of Brighton midweek, just gone. Now, Liverpool were the underdogs coming into this game. No doubt about it. No question about it. They were the underdogs. Now, what concerns me most for Liverpool at the moment is they bought these two new defenders in Ben Davies, signed from Preston, and Kabak, coming from Schalke 04 from the Bundesliga. Now, I'm sure Klopp probably didn't deem them, ready to be put in this game of this magnitude, against a big team like Manchester City. It might have been too much of a stretch. Now, for me personally, Nat Phillips has actually played well since he's had a few games of late. He's played all right. He's made a good account of himself. He's very good aerially. He's very imposing and he's very physical. Although he lacks a lot of pace, So I'm thinking Klopp would have been a bit wary, thinking, can he put him in against the likes of Sterling? But I'm sure if we had Nat Phillips alongside, let's say, Fab at the back and then Henderson at the pivot, as a 6, let's say, I think he would have been all right. And then, another thing I've got to say as well, once we went down 2-1 or the second half, I think he personally, Klopp, had nothing to lose. He should have pushed Henderson into midfield and then he should have brought on one of the new centre-backs, but the game's gone now, 4-1, it's a bad defeat, and right now, any glimmer of hope Liverpool had in the title race, faint hopes. Liverpool were clinging on by their fingernails, literally, it's gone. Face it, it's gone. Man City have been the best team this season, and they have gone under the radar a bit, they started slowly at the start of the season, but they've been quietly going about their business, racking up clean sheets after clean sheets and starting to score goals again, finding their form. Okay, they're not quite at the levels of the Manchester City Centurion season, or let's say the 98-point season, but they're a very good side this season. And I think it'll be a two-way tussle now. I think it's now down to them and Manchester United, which I'm dreading, to be honest. I don't want to see Manchester United win the league. And for me, I think what will let Man United down will be their defence. Their defence has found wanting a lot in games this season. Really has been found wanting. They concede a lot of goals from my liking. So it looks ominous that Man City, they're the clear favourites at the moment. But anything could happen. But for us, regarding Liverpool FC, we're in a straight up top 4 fight now. A top 4 fight this season. And it's worrying because I'm worried Liverpool's form has been bad. If you go back to the start of the season, they only won 3 games in a row. They beat Leeds, and the tone was kind of set in that game when we conceded 3 sloppy goals to Leeds. Leeds are an open team. They are a very challenging team this season. Despite them coming up just for the Championship, their manager, Bielsa, has them playing some good football. So I thought it was a one-off. But then we kind of dismantled Chelsea, but Chelsea have been a bit all over the place. They were gelling in their new signings, etc. We dismantled Arsenal, but as you know, Arsenal hasn't been the same team for the last 2 years or so, or even a bit longer than that. So that was 3 games won. And then question marks started to come when we got dismantled by Aston Villa 7-2. Okay, it was a freak. Some people might say it was a freak of a game. Basically, there was a lot of deflections in that game. We had Adrian playing. A lot of our players looked off colour. We could have got a few penalties, which we should have got personally. VAR was doing some weird, decisions at that start of the season. They're still continuing to do it now, but, we should have had a clear penalty. And at that time, I think we would have been either in front or it could have been 2-2. And who knows where the game would have went. But to be honest with you, Aston Villa deserved their victory in that game, and I think that set the tone. And then the game after that, we had Everton, when Pickford completely took out Virgil van Dijk. Like, he took him out completely. You know, that was an agenda. Like, it was an assault. And what was bizarre about it, he had no retrospective action, no ban, no red card. They was just checking if it was an offside. It was ridiculous. But anyway, we made a good account of ourselves in that game. We should have won. We got robbed by VAR. I don't know what line we were looking at for Mane being offside. Well, we can't keep moaning about that. The main thing is for us, the injuries have messed us up. We're now, at this stage now, we've got 2 new centre-backs. We've got a third, which is Nat Phillips, because I will play him over Reece Williams at this moment in time. And we should just go for it. We've got nothing to lose. Go for it and try and make a feast of top 4. Because at the moment, we're really struggling to score goals. That seems to be the main problem for Liverpool. We're struggling to score goals. And a lot of our players look off colour. You know, I know there's been a lot of chopping and changing in the side. But players like Roberto Firmino doesn't look the same player as he did, I would say, even 18 months ago to 2 seasons ago. And I don't know if that's part of him doing the non-stop pressing. You know, he has been the main man in the front three that starts the press, you know, non-stop. But his primary job is to score goals, and he hasn't really taken the burden off Salah and Mane, and I think Salah's been the main man for the scoring goals this season. And the worrying is part of it is, if he hasn't scored a lot of the goals for us, where would Liverpool be? Would be even like 8th place or whatever. So that's a worry. A lot of other players need to start chipping in with goals, you know. And there's a lot of players, I won't really go into it today, but need moving on. They need moving on in the summer. I think we need to start fresh. The record's been broken at Anfield. Burnley broke the record, so now that aura's gone. Partly, some of that's to do with the crowd. There's no fans in Anfield, so there's no booing, there's no cheering, you know, there's no whistling down the referee when he makes a bad decision. There's nothing there, so it's like an empty stadium. For me, it's a neutral ground. Most of the stadiums are neutral venues this season, so we wait till next season. For me, I back Klopp to the hills. Klopp's still our manager. I still want him to manage our team. You know, he deserves another season and see where we go from then. He's got enough credit in the bank. Look what he brought us. Look where we were 5 seasons ago. He's delivered everything he said he would deliver. I just think this team is kind of coming to the end of a cycle. As much as a lot of fans don't want to believe it, I personally believe a good amount of players are coming to the end of the cycle now. We need to freshen it up. To stay at the top, you need to freshen it up. But my main concern is FSG's reluctance to spend. You know, and sometimes to stay at the top, you've got to spend big. You've got to spend big to stay there, you know. And we can't do that unless we sell. You know, our model and policy has always been, since FSG's been at the club, is we sell to buy. You know, that's how we got Virgil van Dijk and Alisson from the Coutinho fee. Basically, we just have to see what happens in the summer. But going back on the game, because I kind of went off point, the game, I felt both teams were cagey. You know, in the initial first 15 minutes, I'll say for the first 15 minutes, Man City was on top. They had the ball. They were controlling the game, especially in midfield. And then I would say up until the 15 minutes before half-time, when they missed the penalty, it sort of done something to Man City. They thought, like, I think that mental aspect was, you know, got struck into their heads where here we go again at Anfield. And then we sort of went on top. You know, we had more possession. We were making things happen, but it was just that final ball. You know, some of our counter-attacks, we kept slowing them down. You know, Curtis Jones will slow it down. And I think a lot of that's due to experience. I don't think he's experienced enough in this Liverpool side to deal with the counter-attacking aspect in football. And I don't blame him. He's inexperienced. He's still a youth, really and truly. He's only just coming to Liverpool this season. He had a bit of games here and there last season. But remember, he was in the under-23s the majority of last season, you know. So he's got to learn an aspect of his game. We know Wijnaldum always slows it down. Mr. Sideways, he would turn, come back. But to be honest, most of our players were doing that. It was just grinding to a halt. We'll have a few openings and then we'll slow it down. And the Liverpool of 2 to 3 seasons ago would just go for the kill. And we would have been probably 2-0 up by half time. But it's like we slowed it down and we were looking for options. It's like a lot of players didn't want to take the responsibility to make things happen. that's the confidence where Liverpool is at the moment. It goes to show where we are at the moment, and it's sad to see Liverpool like this. You know, so we went in level at half time, it's 0-0, come at the second half, and Man City got their goal. You know, they got their goal. Ilkay Gundogan got the goal, and I thought, you know what, there's still hope for us to get back in it. We got a penalty. Mohamed Salah took that well, as he usually does. I don't have any doubt in him stepping up. You know, him and Milner are our main men for penalties. And if Salah's on a pitch, he will take it. If Milner's not on the pitch, it's Salah that will take it. And 9 times out of 10, he buries the penalty. Well, 10 times. And basically, the game was all right from them. But then, the game flipped on its head. We had subs from Thiago, which I didn't think he had a great game, to be fair. His game was poor. You know, very rash. He needs to get up to the speed of the Premier League because it's very different from the Bundesliga. You know, and I think that changed his game, knowing he was on a yellow card. And even I was cringing at moments and thinking, please don't dive in. You know, you're going to get yourself sent off, then we're going to be a man short. And it wasn't a surprise Klopp took him off. But the surprise was bringing on Milner. That was sort of saying we're going to shut up for a draw here. We're playing not to lose. It was weird. You know, we took off Jones, which Jones was all right. He was having a decent game. Although I said he was slowing our counter-attacks down, he was actually having a decent game, to be fair. So he took off Jones and Thiago, brought on Milner and Shaq, which, to be honest, were the wrong subs. Shaq did nothing at all when he came on. Nothing. You know, Man City made their changes. They went 4-4-2, stifled the midfield, and I think they just smelled blood from then. And then some sort of brain fart come over Alisson. You know, he's usually Mr. Reliable in goals, but he was kicking out from the back and he was dilly-dallying and passing it back, putting some of our players under pressure. There was moments when he was doing it to Curtis Jones. I'm thinking, what are you doing there? Alisson, we were getting away with it. And that was in the first half. I could see the signs. He'd done it in the second half, gave away the ball. He had a chance to redeem himself. He'd done it again. Man City scored for it, went back in front. I thought, you know what? The most we can get out of this is a draw. At that stage, but we ain't going to win. It'll be a 2-2. Then Alisson does the same thing again. And then the game was finished. From that moment, the heads dropped. You seen all the Liverpool players. The confidence, the energy was just drained away from them. And I just thought, it's over. It's done. I thought, that's it. It's done. And then to rub salt in the wound, Raheem Sterling gets the goal. You know, Raheem Sterling gets the goal. Good job it wasn't in front of fans. You know what I mean? And then basically, they get fourth by Foden, which was a great goal, to be fair. And it was just over by then. We just crumbled. And the worry now for Liverpool is to bounce back from this, because that's 2 back-to-back defeats. And everything is becoming a first this season for Klopp. Everyone says, surely Klopp won't do it in his first, you know, it's going to be a first time. But there's always a first time for everything. Do you know what I mean? There's always a first time for everything. And records are there to be broken. And it's a worry. And I personally think it's going to be a big struggle for top 4. You know, I'm worried because Chelsea will have a bounce from their new manager, Tuchel, coming in place of Lampard. And they will find form. I think they're our main threat for top 4 now. And it could be a surprise team. You never know. Everton, I would dread to see that happen. You know, but they're a bit hot and cold at times, Everton are. So it's 50-50 with them. But I think our main threat now is Chelsea. Tottenham, we know what the stories with them, with Jose Mourinho being their manager and stuff, and the reliance on Kane and Son. You know, so I think basically now it's a fight for top 4. We're just going to hope we can turn on the form in the Champions League, because we've seen it happen to teams in the past. It's happened to us in the past in 2005, for example, bad league form, and we went on to win the Champions League. It's happened to Chelsea in 2012, poor league form, and they've won the Champions League. It's happened to a lot of teams in other leagues as well. So who knows? Teams will come at us, and maybe we can just gear up, different surroundings. Although there's going to be no fans, and, you know, give it a go. Who knows? But we just, that main thing is get top 4, wipe the slate clean, get some new signings in, and go again for next summer. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it as that. This is my first video, like I said. So you'll see videos coming from me, and stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to sub, like, share, and subscribe. It's yours and truly, Lazer LFC. I'm out.